So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be continuing with the same basic to advanced part 2 journey. So welcome back to the journey. If you remember, last time we were talking about some basic functions. This part was done. Then we were also doing some queries based on loops. So I think that part was also done from our end. So like we have saw how to use the I loop, means for loop, and what is nested loops. So those kind of thing. Then I have given some logical thinking over here, like how does this work from the inner, then it go to the outer, then it go for the outer, like first local, then global. So this kind of things we were discussing last time, isn't it? So uh, now we were after completing this, what happened was we were also knowing about the list part. So where we have discussed some of the important functions that are used in our list. So if I recall you, list is something which is present in the square bracket. So maybe we can put the strings here. If I say this, so now 5 is a string, it's not a number. So similar kind of things we were doing last time, right? We were at the very basic level, then we have moved to some, I will say, some deeper part of the stuff. So I was talking with you that let's say I have a list. Let's say this C is a list. So this, you can say this is a list, right? The whole thing is a list. So now please tell me, I want to add or I want to sum all the numbers of this from this. So how will I do? For doing that, what was required is I have to use a function. Like we have used a function, right? This sum, and it did not work. So we got an error over here. This error is known as attribute error because the code is wrong. This code is wrong, right? So how will we solve this? So the primary question over here is I want to add all the numbers in my in my list. I will just try to expand it. So what is C? C is a list. I think that's in capital, it will not work. Yeah, is it now? Yes. So C is a list. Okay. This list, this is the number present in the list. Okay. Now I want to add all of them. How will I add? So this is the question now, right? For this, I will also because one part I have missed, I think so, which is known as function, which is very basic thing. So we say def, which is a primary inbuilt function in this. Okay. So now, okay, what is a function first of all? So function is something like, let's say I have written a. So now a is my function, I will say, and let's say I will put this word. Okay, I will put lists. It is also there. Let's say LP. I am putting LP. What is LP? It is just a variable. What is A? It is another variable. Okay. Now I am saying that sum equals to 0. Okay. For I in LP. Okay. Now let's say this part. I have written some codes over here. What are these codes? Let's understand them first. Okay. Before that, let me show what LP is. Nothing, because LP is not defined. Now if I say LP equals to C, then LP is not defined. Now you see. And if I run this, you see, I have assigned another name of C as LP. Okay. Now I am running this. This code has run. Now I want to see what is the result of LP. So I will completely take the whole thing A of LP and I will paste and I will run. So it is coming as 183. Means let's understand it from the starting. Okay, here I have covered two concepts at a time. First is how to sum all the numbers in the list. Okay, after summing the numbers, I want to create a function. So what does this function will do? So this function is nothing but, let's say, let you can just understand this way that uh, here LP or C is the whole thing, correct? Is the whole thing. Whole number, like the whole list is known as C. The whole list is also known as LP now, right? So if I just write this way, that how will I add the number first? Let's see. Let's understand how can I add the number. How can I add all the numbers? Okay. So for adding the numbers, what will I do is I will assign a variable. I can assign anything. Let's say x equals to 0. Why x equals to 0 means I will replace 0 with the sum of all the elements present in my list at the end of the code. Okay, now I am running a for loop. So for I in C, what is I in C? I means the number 100, 1, 2. So each individual number from the list, it will be our I. Okay, now I am saying that x equals to x plus I. Okay, and then I am printing my x. Print x. It is coming as 183. Great. So just you imagine this way that for our C list we have written a code. Now let's say I will make another list called MP. So why it is coming capital? Let's say I have make another list called MP. Now I am giving some random number. Okay. Okay, these are some random number. Huh? Now let's run this code. So MP becomes my this list, right? Now, what if I put the same code again here and just change the variable name? Like let's say my X becomes double X, my C, which is my previous list, will become MP, and I will just change this to double X and double X, right? So I have just changed the X to double X for making this code simpler. It is coming at 0. Why? Because this is the error. What is the error? You are writing x equals to xx plus I. How come? Because x is nothing for this code, right? X was already present in the previous code and it has no work over here. So I will make it double x. Now you see it's coming 310. Exactly, it is running. So my point is, let's say I have n number of list now. For example, let's say we have around 100 list. Okay, and the client or any one of us wants to sum all the list individually, right? So will it be possible for you to write the same code 100 times and finish it? Literally no, right? Because it will be difficult for anyone, anything for anyone, it will be difficult to run this thing 100 times by just changing the variable name and running it for 100 times to get 100 different results. So in those cases, what we do is we create a function. Now understand. So what the function will do? The function is something which will have a single code, means the group, this whole code inside it. Okay, and that code can be replaced with n number of list also with just a single change in the function. So let's understand now how the function works. So let's first create a list. Okay, different list I am creating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 78, 90, 100. Okay. Let's say z equals to 91, 84, 86, 71, 83, 29, 80. Okay. Now, now you understand this part. See, we have two different lists now. Okay. So we know how to add all the individual numbers in the list. This is the code how we can add, right? Now, just imagine, let's say I have some 100 list of different variable, different number in given to me in a table. I need to give the sum of all different list. So do you want that you will write it for 100 times same kind of code and you will get individual result, or can we make it concise, means can we even make it a bit smaller and quicker? So how will we do that? So we create a function in those cases. So def is always constant for Python. So def of, let's say, addition of numbers. So this is what, this is my function name, means I will say it is the alias name over here. Okay, now I am saying x. Okay, I have used x. Even I can again use the x, not an issue. So I am just saying addition of numbers x. So what is x here? X is any list, or x is just a list, you can say. You just imagine that x is a list now. Okay, x is a list now. So now I will write the same query again. So let's say total equals to 0. So for I in x, because x I am considering as my current list. Okay, so total equals to total plus I, and print total. Right now, if you run this, what will happen? You will not get anything. Why? Because this is just a function. Don't just get confused, because like we have used the x here. So let's say if you have used the x here, I am writing p. P is not used till now, right? So I'm just writing p. What will happen? And also I will just change this part, p. So there is no x now, correct? So I have used this part. So function is a combination of a loop if required and an extra variable. So this is how you write a function. You put a this semicolon over here, or you will say what, anything, this sign over here, and then you start it from the beginning. The same code will come under a name called additional numbers. Now, how the function works, you see. I will take this additional number part in the next code. Okay, this p is there, right? So I will change that p with v now, because we have already assigned as a list in our previous code, and I will run this. So it is saying v is not defined. Why? Because we have not run this part. Now you see one by one each number it has calculated, right? Each number it has calculated and showed the final number. Now, if I just want a single number, what will I do is I will just modify my function. I have taken the print total from the for loop to outside of the for loop. Means if it was this way, that means it is inside the for loop now, right? And if I take this out, so it is outside the for loop. So now if you run, and if I just run this also, you get a final result, that is 289. Now let's just do the same thing. I have taken another thing here, additional numbers, and I am just converting and my v with z, that is z. Now let's run this. You get, see how coolly you are getting the addition now. So which is better, like converting, writing the code 100 times, or just creating a simple code this way using a function and just running this part? What you are doing, you are just changing the variable name here. If you change the variable name in a single code also like this, you convert it to z, you are getting that. Now this code is universal now. This additional number has become universal. Let's say I want to add the value of MP. What is how we are doing here? We are just writing the single line of code. And what was the value of MP? It was 310. Now let's see. See, it's working. So this is how we make a function, and this is how I have covered two major concepts over here. The first, I need to add the numbers in the list using a function. Great. So now if I just modify this question to recall what I have done. Now let's say create a function, create a function, okay, then multiply the values, right? So what you will do? So we will write a function as usual, def, and we will write, let's say, multi values is my function name, and I am right assigning any variable. I have assigned b. What is b now? B is my our list name, but it is not. This list is not prepared. We have to make that list now. Okay. So I am writing uh, initial as 1. Okay, so for I in B, initial equals to initial into I, and print initial. Okay, now let's run this. Great. So now what will you do is you will just take this multi value B, and because B is not a list now, so I will change it with a V, because above V we have created it as a list starting from 1 to 100. Now see, it is so simple, like, right? And for people who getting confused, like I have taken a 0 here, then I have taken a 1 here. Why? See, because if I will take a 0 in my multiplication also, what will happen? This function will work, but will I get a final result? No. Why? Because if my initial is 0 and I am saying initial into I, means 0 into I is what? 0. So the final number will be 0 always. So I have taken 1 here, and then I am printing this. So here you can also see that I am actually making a pattern now, a triangular pattern. Okay, you can just imagine this way also. I have created a triangular pattern. Let's say I am just putting a star here. Okay, and star with a, okay, sorry, star with this part. And let's run this. You see, it is becoming a pattern, right? And if I just say plus I, now you see what will happen. It's becoming wrong because star is something which is an string, and you are adding I, and I is a value. But is it possible to add a string with I? No, it is not possible. So it has become that way. Great. So let's move back to this. So this is the pattern you can see. Why? Because the print initial is inside my for loop. If I take print initial outside the for loop, this thing I will get, which is my final number. If I take outside of everything, means I am just making it another function. Will it work? You can see that also. It will not work. Why? Because initial is already falling under our function. So what you can understand is something, if you just make a vertical line here, you can just see that something which is outside a vertical line is known as outside of that specific function. But let's say if I'm writing this initial outside the function itself, now you see it's coming 1. So this is how you manipulate the functions also. This is how you can work with the functions also. So this is a smaller thing which I wanted to show you, how to use the function. The function can be used in any way. Let's say I have some question like temperature to Fahrenheit. This is a very basic level question. So let's say I want to create a function where I want to convert this with that, like the Fahrenheit to temperature. I can use the function. It is not like that this is fixed to a single variable. You can have multiple variables over here, but you have to also create a function in that manner, right? This is what I wanted to say. Okay, so now we will be back to the deeper concept of the list. This was the concept where I have used the function and the list. Now let's go a bit deeper inside that. Let's take a bit deeper inside that. Today the concept will be covered from 1D list, that is a single dimension, one dimensional list. So it will not take much time. Of 3-4 questions we will be solving. 3-4 question we will be solving based on some unique concept. Great. Okay. So now let's say I have one list. Let's say my list name is L, and I am saying that 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9. Now this is the question I have. Okay, a list I have. What I want is I need to identify those numbers which are actually consecutive to each other. So from this easily you can say that 4 and 7 are the numbers which are consecutive, because 4 repeats after 4 and 7 repeats after 7. Great. So here comes the concept of indexing as well. As we were talking in our previous lecture regarding what is indexing and what are the index value. The same concept will be applicable over here. So when I say let's say consecutive nums, I have equals to a blank list. I have created a blank list now where I will be storing my consecutive nums. Okay, now let's write a code now. So for I in range length of L. Great. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So if A of I equals to A of I plus 1, then con nums dot append A of I. Now you run this and it will show you error. So why this error has occurred? Let's understand that part first. It's showing that function is not okay. Let's understand it in a different way. Let me just open the spreadsheet. Let's go to a new sheet today. So let's say I have some number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll take smaller example. Now I know these are my values. Great. What will be my index over here now? So the index will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So genuinely if you see what is happening, according to the mathematics it start from 1, the values are starting from 1. According to the coding language it should start from 0. So when the number is at the first position, its index value will be 0. The second position, it will have 1 as its index value. So whenever I say A of I, okay, that means it is the current position of any number. So A of I at 2 means what is the current position of 2? Its current position is 1, means its index value is 1. So A of I is 1. But if I say what only A, then it will be becoming 2. Why? Because we are now just considering this row. I'm not considering any table, okay? I'm not considering anything now. I'm just talking about the first or second row. I'm saying this row I'm just talking about. You can just ignore this part and this part. I know that 2 is a number, okay, which is between 1 to 5. Second thing, the number are in the sorted order, okay. So 2 will be my second number in the series. So 1 will be its index value because 2 minus 1. You can say think this way. So 1 will be its index value. Any number will have a lesser index value, means minus 1 you have to do with that number. Condition is that it should be in a sorted manner. Here we are writing the number in a sorted manner, means in a ascending order. Now if you just think this way, like let's say 5 3 uh, 1 4 2. Now what is happening? Nothing will happen to the index. It will be as usual only. Just the values are getting like there is no sorting in the values. So any time whenever we write for I in A, okay, that means what? We are actually taking I as a replacement of the original values. Okay, whenever I write for I in range length of A, that means what? Now I am taking I as a replacement of the index numbers, index values. So this is two type of code in the for loop which we generally use. Great. So now if I just say for, let's now focus on this part, for I in range length of A. That means what? I'm taking the index value of this. Okay. Now you know I have 5 numbers here. Now let's say my consecutive number is at this position, like 4 4 are my consecutive number. Okay, so if I say I of range length of A, means what is the length of A now? It is 5. Same sequel thing.